This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vasugi and Mikey Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mikey Stiller, joined by my co-host, Arash Vasugi, and we're so thrilled to be back with you for another episode. Today, we're going to be talking about personal responsibility, which is an incredibly important topic on so many levels, and I'm excited to dig in. But first, Arash, how are you doing?
I'm great, Mikey. How are you? Great to be here.
Yes, great to be here. You know, so often in the personal development world, we're hearing to take responsibility, to not be a victim, to take control of your life. But what does that really mean? Or what does taking personal responsibility mean?
Well, we want to have that as one of our core principles. Number one, we always talk about philosophy creates our standard. This is a philosophy that I highly encourage everyone adopt. And we're always going to be, my mentor used to tell me this, you're the only problem, the only solution you're ever going to have. And I can't control what you feel. I control how I can respond to you. And that's in every circumstance, every situation. We can either make excuses or we can go create the life we want. We can't do both. You're never going to create the life you want blaming the circumstance, blaming everybody for your problems, blaming your childhood, because it has no purpose. And, you know, I always joke with clients, they'll say, you know, I don't even want to complain about this. And I always say, well, nobody cares anyway. And it's the truth. The thing about it is when we take absolute extreme ownership for everything we do, we're in the power position. And that is where personal responsibility is absolutely essential to creating world-class results. People don't get world-class by accident. They build their image. Well, part of their image is responsibility. And we have to make this at our core. It is not about defending your stance. It's about being aware of where was my role in this, or where is my role in not taking action? That's personal responsibility. Where is my role in not creating the right disciplines? Where is my role that I'm going to let somebody steal my energy and bother me because I really need to care about what they're thinking of me? Because all that does, when we're defending our role, what we're doing is, it's like we're arguing for somebody to see our view. The only person's view that matters is your view of yourself. And that's why we've got to compartmentalize all the stuff going on around us, because we have a battlefield all the time going on in our mind. People can be on social media and get distracted and plant negative ideas. And so we've got to decide where we're putting our attention, and we want to put controlled attention only on what we want. But I will promise you this, your life is not going to change until you take extreme ownership for everything in your life and how you're responding to it. It is at the core. This is such an important principle to understand.
I love that, Arash. So whenever you come up against an obstacle, is that where you need to ask yourself, okay, am I giving up all my power in this circumstance or to this person? Or how do you look at a situation if you're stuck and see, okay, am I taking personal responsibility or have I given up my power?
Well, I think first we've got to change our attitude towards obstacles. First off, obstacles are not bad things. If it's a little hard, there's going to be a little good in it. If it's a lot hard, there's going to be a ton of good. So I don't look at obstacles as a bad thing. I look at it as how can I pivot forward? And so, but let's say I say, oh God, here's another obstacle like that. That's an attitude, but that's where I'm falling victim to the obstacle. So this is where extreme ownership is very important, that I say I get to find my other self where I can go to another gear and I can overcome this obstacle, because my goal is going to demand me to overcome obstacle after obstacle. That's just a fact. Like I know every goal that I set, I'm going to have to overcome a ton of obstacles, or else the goal's not very big. If you're not having to overcome a lot of obstacles, the goal's just not very big. It's not worthy of you. So we want to change our attitude, but we don't want to renegotiate with ourselves. A lot of people will get an obstacle, they renegotiate. Let me change the goal. Never change the goal. Raise your image, raise your bravery, raise your standard, and you're going to overcome obstacles that way.
God, this is so good. Okay, so basically just a slight switch in, oh, I'm stuck. Oh, there's this obstacle in front of me too. Oh, here's an opportunity to get better. Here's an opportunity to get closer to my goal. Is that along the right lines?
That's exactly what it is. And we want to lean into it. So we've talked about several times, attitude is everything. It's our thoughts, feelings, and actions. Well, what do you think responsibility is? That's an attitude. What do you think being a victim to? That's an attitude. So I want everyone to ask themselves right now, am I a victim or am I a leader? You're not both. You're playing one of the roles. I encourage you to make extreme ownership with personal responsibility one of your key core principles, because I promise you that's going to be your competitive edge in your life.
So good, Raj. Okay, so if taking personal responsibility is a philosophy, what's a standard that matches that?
The commitment with it. Commitment and your code of ethics to it. And disciplining yourself that from this moment on, I'm taking responsibility. Let's say somebody starts hating on you. Say, God, that's good. That means they don't hate on people that aren't doing anything. And nobody likes being hated on. It's not like I love being hated on. But with the social media era, I get hated on all the time. I bless those people. They're giving me more fuel for me to keep growing. And I don't put a lot of attention. I don't put actually any attention on it. But that's because I know who I am. The more you know who you are and keep getting more and more comfortable with who you are, you know whether you're doing good. You know where your intent is. So let the haters hate. Understand you're not going anywhere until you're being hated on. And I remember, this is such an interesting thing. I remember someone was hating on me years ago. Okay. And I was telling our mentor, Bob Proctor, and he said, God, you finally made it. And I never forgot it. He goes, I'm not joking. He said, who do you think they hate on? They don't hate on people doing anything that are not doing anything. And he said, Arash, you're more aware. Don't give it any energy. Understand that means you're going in the right direction, and get ready, because where you're going, you're going to get hated on a lot more. I promise you. So, but here's the deal. Once he told me that, we kind of got a good laugh out of it, but he was very serious. He was like super curt about it. And I took responsibility to own that. So my attitude towards it changed. Instead of trying to prove people wrong, I've always say this, I don't look at proving people wrong. I look at proving my circle right. The people who believe in me. I look at proving myself right. That's part of my image. And I really take a lot of ownership in that, because I'd rather go towards the light than go towards the darkness. Whenever we're trying to go towards the darkness, we start arguments. We start rationalizations. Well, let me show them. Let me prove it to them. When we go towards the light, we're proving to ourselves and bringing the greatness out of ourselves and the essence of who we are. I think that is our responsibility. Our responsibility is to use all the potential that God has given us for good, not going out and letting ego come in the way, because we want to remember this. There's two parts of us that we're always tapping into, either our higher self or our lower self. The weakest part of ourselves is our ego. And when we're trying to compete, when we're trying to prove somebody wrong, we're at our lower self. So I encourage everyone, go towards the light, not towards the darkness.
Raj, I love that, because I feel like it's the ultimate personal responsibility. I'm just trying to prove myself right, not looking at what anyone else is thinking, not looking at what anyone else is doing. And that goes to getting 1% better every day. I would say that lens, we talk about that a lot with our clients, but that lens towards personal responsibility as well.
Everything is about responsibility. Like everything we're doing, we're responsible for, whether we are aware of it or not. Somebody may be sitting there, well, I got cut off and I got in an accident or something bad. Some people are going through really hard times. I understand that, and I really do. but we have to keep persisting. By persisting, we're taking responsibility. It's not reacting towards it. It's not shrinking. It's not running away from it. It's really going to it. I'll tell you a story. This past week, my son, he goes, they were in this area after school that they were playing, and these two kids tried to team up on him. And he held his ground, but he said, I felt inside. He goes, I want to tell you this. I felt inside like I wanted to run. I said, we never run. I said, you have to stand up for yourself, because if you get in a habit of running, you're always going to run when hard stuff comes. And I said, I'm so grateful you told me this, because I can help you with this. Yeah. But, it's the natural thing when things get hard, until we make it part of our responsibility that we stand up for ourselves, that we stand up for what we believe in. The minute we run, we're going to get in a habit of running. And one of the things that I teach our clients all the time, I'm going to teach you never to run again in your life, because I will not tolerate that for you, because I know what it does. And I said, you could have been running your whole life. You could be running for the past 50 years, and you could change that by holding straight and by really making it a responsibility that I'm never running again. And it's a very important part of our identity.
This is so important, Raj, and so good, because if you think about it, we've all had somebody in our lives, and maybe we've been there at one point, where you think, oh my God, I have all these responsibilities, right? And it feels like a pressure or stress or, oh, these responsibilities. Or you can be empowered. I'm personally responsible for my results. That means I get to create them. That means it's my choices that make the difference. That means it's what my daily disciplines are going to move me forward. So can you talk about changing your attitude towards responsibility, which I feel like sometimes people don't necessarily love the word?
Well, we've got to start loving the word, and the world too. But, I will tell you, it's essential if you want to create a life that you're really proud of. And you have to start leaning into it to change the attitude. So if you're letting the outside control you, you're falling victim. And I spent a lot of my life doing that. I took control of it over the last 15 plus years. But my results changed dramatically. My life changed dramatically, but I changed dramatically. That's why my life and results changed. I can tell everybody, as you change, your outside world is going to change. Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to take extreme ownership for everything. Never blame anybody. Take responsibility. And when you do that, even when you're wrong, say, why am I staying in this situation? Where else in my life would I ever allow somebody to treat me that way? Then don't do it. It does not serve you. And you have to respect yourself enough to have that responsibility. See, I love it because I know once I changed my attitude towards, I call it extreme ownership, look at that word extreme. Like, I am responsible for everything. And when I took extreme ownership from my life, I let go of what was average, what was mediocre, what may have been good to create what was great. But I had to be strong enough to stop blaming the outside. It's easier to blame the outside. It's easier to say, let's surround ourselves with a bunch of people who complain, and we can all get together and complain about why things are the way they are. Or we could take responsibility and start building our character and start changing from the inside out. And in 6 months, 12 months, you won't even recognize yourself. And it will be a part of everything you do.
Raj, I want to talk about how this goes into every area of your life, big or small, even the things that you may think are out of your control. So this isn't just about your daily disciplines. It's not just about, moving your business forward. But let's say a lot of people, I'm going to bring up an example that a lot of people think is out of their control. So let's say that you're traveling and your flight is delayed and they lost your baggage. An example of extreme ownership would be you having control over your emotions and your attitude, correct? Or what explain these situations.
It's funny you brought this up, because last week I was coaching a client one-on-one, and they told me I always get frustrated when I go to the airport. I said, I get it. I used to be the same way. And I said, I changed my attitude. I said, so I always go if I'm going to the airport, I will have the attitude that everything's going to be just fine how it is. If it's delayed, it's delayed. So I changed my attitude towards it. That's where you hold your responsibility, but that's for everything.
Yeah.
Like we could do it. I know what you mean, because I've been at airports and you're like, oh my gosh, it's delayed again. And if it takes over and frustrates you, you just gave over all your emotions, all your happiness in that moment.
Yeah.
So we have to change our attitude to create the responsibility. Like somebody right now sitting here, I will tell you this, that I know is 100% true, that you could, over the next 12 months, 10x your results if you will start implementing personal responsibility. That's at the core of everything. Nothing happens without responsibility. We have to do the work to develop mastery. People look at people who are creating an extraordinary life saying, gosh, they were lucky. Successful people, they see themselves as lucky because they always have the attitude that everything's going to conspire in their behalf. But the unsuccessful person is always saying, oh God, this always goes wrong. I'm going to wait for it to go wrong. It's never this good for so long. See, that's an attitude of responsibility of their perspective of what they're expecting into their life. We're in control of that. Mm-hmm. What if every day we expected everything to go exactly the way we wanted it or better? See, this is an attitude, but I can tell you, if somebody looks deep at themselves, because I'm very passionate about this, deep internal work is the key to personal transformation. You have to do that deep internal work. So we could all look at it and say, where was I not responsible? Where did I not do it? Where am I dropping it? And that's what we have to do. We have to take extreme ownership of everything we're doing.
Yeah. And I would say that starts with even allowing outside circumstances or other people to get you frustrated. There's so many examples every single day that people are letting strangers frustrate them. Like somebody cuts them off on the highway, or somebody, I don't ever get road rage. I just don't care about other people driving. Does not bother me one bit. I always think, oh, that's probably someone's grandma, or that's probably someone's 16-year-old son. And I think about how much I love my grandma or how much I love my son. And literally doesn't affect me. But people all the time are so frustrated doing these everyday things. And then it feeds into the rest of their life because you've switched your attitude. And now you're looking for other ways to get frustrated.
Yeah. We have to be in control of our emotions. We have to be in control of our thoughts. We have to learn how to practice neutral thinking, which we'll do an episode on that. Mm-hmm. What I believe, it's never been so easy to win than it is right now because so many people are not doing the work.
Yep.
So that it is so easy to win if you just did the work, because I promise you, the masses are not doing the work. And it is so easy to have that competitive advantage. Your greatest competitive advantage is going to be your attitude. Guess who's in control of that? You are. Guess why? Because once you take ownership of your attitude, you're going to change everything. So don't settle. Don't think small. Go after what you really want. Go after what you really want more than anything else, and go after how you really want to live.
I love that, Raj. All right, let's get into the action step for today.
I would like everyone to take a dive into what their triggers are. Really watch your triggers for a week. Create a trigger journal of when you stop taking responsibility. And I promise you, if you just do it for a week, get a journal every day and keep it around you. And if you can't have a journal, have your phone and voice recorded in your phone. Somebody said this, so I blame them. It's going to tell you a story in 7 days of where you give up responsibility. And here's a big one. When you renegotiate with yourself, you're giving up the biggest responsibility and you're playing the biggest victim. We've all done it. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but when we start being aware of this, we start developing mastery in this area and extreme ownership. I am responsible for everything in my life. I'm either a leader or a victim. Victims do not create great results. Leaders create world-class results, create a ripple effect on their team, their company, the marketplace, their family, their friends. Be a leader, not a victim. It starts with personal responsibility.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Raj. Thanks to all of you for tuning in to this week's episode on the 7-Figure Standard podcast. If you enjoyed it, please leave us a rating and review, and we'll see you next week for another episode.
Thank you for listening to this episode of 7-Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mikey and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of 7-Figure Standard.